This looks like a normal, albeit a bit messy picture, right?
The cups in this picture used to contain Flavor Aid, a sugary Kool-Aid knockoff drink, and the syringes, cyanide. This picture is from Jonestown, which was a remote settlement in Guyana established by cult leader Jim Jones. By late 1978, Jones's world was collapsing for a number of reasons, and he decided that everyone needed to come down with him. On November 18th, a total of 918 people living in the settlement, many of whom were children, drank the cyanide-laced drinks in order to take their own lives. Some were happy to do so and believed it was for the best of the group, but many others were forced at gunpoint by the guards to do so. They then laid down on the grass until the effects of the cyanide took over. Jones himself did not drink it, and instead opted for one of his guards to shoot him. There was an audio tape recording during Jones's last sermon when everyone began to drink, so search for it if you dare.
This is why you should never eat a cult's applesauce. During his stay in a psych ward in the 1970s, Marshall Applewhite formed an intense, non-romantic relationship with his nurse, Bonnie Nettles. They quickly realized aliens had preordained their encounter, and now they needed to board their spacecraft once the aliens came back to Earth to give them the signal. The pair formed a cult called Heaven's Gate, and they recruited people by telling them if they missed this one UFO ride, they would be destroyed when the Earth was inevitably recycled. Their cult was considered a joke and not a threat until they did something so horrific it shocked the world. On March 26, 1997, the aliens were going to be passing overhead, hiding behind a comet, and it was now time for the members to hop on board. Over the course of 3 days, members donned matching Nike sneakers, ate poisoned applesauce, tied bags over their head, and then waited to exit the Earth. Right before they died, they conducted exit interviews, and they are truly disturbing. To see these interviews and learn more about the cult of cults, check out Heaven's Gate on HBO Max. Link is in my bio.
Yes, I need to report an anonymous tip.
On March 26, 1997, the San Diego Sheriff's Office received an anonymous payphone call which claimed that dozens of people had committed suicide at a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe. They would soon find a macabre scene of ritualized death. 39 bodies, both men and women, ranging in ages from 26 to 72. They all belong to a religious UFO cult led by this guy, called Heaven's Gate, and they believed that by doing this, they would be beamed up to an extraterrestrial spacecraft following the comet Hale-Bopp. Each body was laid out in beds the same exact way, all wearing the same clothes, all with $5.75 in their pockets, and all covered with a square of purple fabric. Everyone also had an arm patch that read, Heaven's Gateway Team, and all of the computers in the mansion flashed the words, Red Alert. Till this day, the cult's website remains active, and oddly hasn't been updated since 1997. Now that's creepy.
Tom Cruise and many of your other favorite celebrities are part of a very dangerous cult. This cult is known as the Church of Scientology and has some of the craziest rules you'll ever hear. They believe that all news is fake and that the internet is a scam. You could get punished for simply looking something up on the internet. Instead, if you have a question, you need to ask one of the Scientologists. Celebrities get special treatment, like having other members work for them for $25 a week. They're allowed to do this because labor laws don't apply to churches. They don't believe in mental illnesses and won't let you get any outside medical help. All meetings are recorded and will be used against you if you try to leave. You're also banned from seeking any legal justice against any other member, even for abuse.
Scientology has their own prison and it is absolutely terrifying. So at their gold base, which is where a lot of their executives live and work, they have these 2 buildings that they call the Hole, and people are kept there for anywhere between months to years at a time. Most people say that they were put there by David Miscavige and were harassed, beaten, and had horrible living conditions. It was basically an office where you and 100 other people would sleep on the floor side by side. There was no AC, and a lot of times it was infested with bugs. They also have group confessions that lead to a lot of violence and abuse. The shit that goes down there is homophobic, sexist, and racist, among probably a lot of other things. It's just all around absolutely terrifying. Also, this is what the outside of the fence looks like. I don't think most churches just have blades hanging out there.
These TikTok cults must be stopped. So when you're watching videos on TikTok, you may have noticed the same repeated comment in the comment section. It's a bunch of people telling you to join the cult of Lana Del Rey or get cooked in soup, sing the national anthem. Some even call Lana Del Rey their Lord and Savior. And I looked up Lana Del Rey, and apparently she burned Bibles and said some pretty messed up things. But wait, it only gets weirder. There's a cult fighting against the Lana Del Rey supporters, and it's a bunch of hamsters. It literally says the same thing, a bunch of hamsters saying the exact same thing, spamming it on everybody's comment section. I literally can't go anywhere without seeing these comments. Both of these cults need to be stopped, but the real question is, who's gonna win?
Okay, since everybody is talking about the TikTok cult, I thought I would jump on the bandwagon because I am fascinated and also terrified. So I want to talk about this guy, Tree is Alive. He, I guess, is their like person, I guess, and said that his contribution to the commune is his TikTok creator fund. But I actually have some questions about that. So this is Tree's first video. It was posted on January 27th, which means he would only have become eligible for the creator fund about a week ago because you need to be active for 30 days and have a certain amount of views within those 30 days to become eligible to join the creator fund. In addition to that, your funds are not available for withdrawal until 30 days after the end of that month. And to add another plot hole, you can only withdraw funds from your TikTok balance that are under $50 every 6 months. So he would have to wait like for a couple months for it to get up to $50 before he could withdraw. I'm out of time, but I will link part 2 in the comments where I talk about what I think the real motive for his TikTok account is.
So this guy has went viral with the whole cult thing, commune in Lafayette in Tennessee. He claims to be from Ballymena, County Antrim, but his accent is, as an Irish person who's like grown up in like both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, has a mixed accent. His accent doesn't make sense to me. He sounds like he's an English person trying to sound Irish, but just kind of sounding vaguely Australian. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Obviously he's like the perfect example of a new age hippie traveler that like goes to like free music festivals, etc. But I also think he's probably claiming the Irish traveler identity in the US and claiming to be an Irish traveler when he's more likely not an Irish traveler. I've seen no evidence that he is, so he's claiming this weird Irish identity with like weirdo Americans in this cult, which is like really racist.
Have you ever been to one of these restaurants? They're all across the US with additional locations across the globe. But beneath their rustic interiors and healthy menus, the owners of these restaurants have a dark secret. They're a cult.
So my aunt actually joined this group in the 70s whenever it began, like only recently left. Like her and my mom were going to college in Tennessee where, you know, this guy convinced her to join. Like I visited for like a week whenever I was 8 years old for my cousin's wedding, and the wedding was like insane. Like if this gets enough views, like I'll make another video about it, but because I have so many stories. Oh my god, like they live in like this village. Only the leader has access to like a cell phone or like a computer and everything. Everyone else like is like completely disconnected from the outside world except for at the cafe where my aunt, like she was like the person who ran it. Like I have so many stories about this, so many. Please someone respond so that
This video is why you should never underestimate the evil ways of true believers. In 2009, Sylvia Maraz became obsessed with Santa Muerte, the female deity known for protection and safe delivery to the afterlife, which led her to believe that she must sacrifice humans in order to become rich. A few days later, a 55-year-old neighbor selling popsicles stopped by to chat when Sylvia, acting on her radical ideas, dismantled and sacrificed her to Santa Muerte. Sylvia then elicited the help of her young daughter to help intoxicate and sacrifice a young man while he was awake. Investigators believe that the victims were taken by human traffickers, but after a tip, went to Sylvia's house and found multiple victims under her daughter's bedroom.
Let's talk about this German Shepherd cult that turned into an animal sanctuary. In 1966, Marianne McLean and Robert Moore founded the Process Church of Final Judgment after they left the Church of Scientology. The group's practices were a mix of Christianity, Scientology, and Satanism. But what made this cult super cool is everybody had big dogs. They were known for traveling with large breed dogs, mostly German Shepherds, and German Shepherds actually became their unofficial mascot. The group didn't have the best reputation and was actually linked with Charles Manson, even though it was never proven. In the 70s, the founders, Robert and Mary, split up, and Mary actually maintained the devotion of the majority. Over the next 2 decades, the group's ideologies were changing, and they changed their name a couple times too. But by 2003, the one-time satanic cult ended up turning into the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. Now they focus on outreach, pet adoption, and currently house over 1,500 homeless animals.
True crime fans, have you ever heard of the Ripper Crew cult? Also known as the Chicago Rippers, and you can understand why. They were really active in the 80s, luring women to this van, where they would assault, murder, and then cannibalize the dead. And then they might assault them again, even when they're dead. I'm not going to say their names because I don't want them to be famous, but they were charged with the disappearances of 18 women, and that was only in 1 year. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the crimes, but they were very gruesome. One of the men had a satanic chapel in his home, though Satanists are not murderers or cannibals. I must make that clear. They would prowl the streets of Chicago looking for women to abduct. One of these thickheads are about to be released on parole after 40 years. At least 2 were executed and 1 other one will stay in prison. Their crimes are atrocious, and I can't even explain what they did to these women. These women deserved so much better. These guys hide behind Satanism as a motive for their crimes. I can tell you right now, it's against Satanism to kill others. And I hope these women find peace.
This is Mark Kilroy. In 1989, Mark and a group of friends decided to go on spring break in Mexico. While he was there, he was abducted and taken to a ranch in the middle of nowhere where he was tortured and sodomized for hours before being killed in a human sacrifice ritual. He was killed by having his head cut off with a machete. His brains were then removed and boiled in a pot. His killers inserted a wire through his spinal column. They amputated his legs at the knees and buried him on the ranch's property along with 14 other bodies. The cult leader told his followers they had to do this in order to gain immunity for their drug crimes. When police showed up on the property, they found Mark's grave with a wire sticking out of the ground. The cult buried him this way so they would be able to pull the wire and more easily extract his bones from his decomposing body. They would then wear the bones as jewelry. Police surrounded the cult leader's apartment complex, and when he realized he was caught, he ordered his followers to execute him with a machine gun.
If you knew what this woman did, you would be horrified by this photo. Let me explain. This 17-year-old girl is Tylee Vallow, and this is her little brother JJ. He's 7. They're both currently missing. No one has seen them since September. This was her husband, Charles Vallow. He got killed last year. This is her brother, Alex Cox. He killed Charles Vallow. But guess what? He's dead too. And this is her new husband, Chad Daybell. Guess what? He's alive. But his wife died of natural causes in her sleep at the age of 49 last year. 2 weeks after his wife died, Lori and Chad Daybell got married on the beach in Hawaii in November while her children were still missing. Lori and her new husband are being accused of being in a cult called Preparing a People, which believes that the world is going to end in July. Lori's currently on trial for their disappearance, but nobody knows where the kids are. If you want to check out the full video, make sure you head on over to my YouTube channel.
Evil cults you never heard of. The Rosary prayer group was founded in 1988 by Lydia Maccarado, who said the end of the world was imminent. She led 35 people to commit heinous crimes in a farmhouse in Italy. How can someone with the last name Macaroni be so popular? Maybe she was just mad because she never found her cheese. In the 1990s, Colin Beadle and 4 females relocated to Sidwell in West Wales, where they formed the sex cult of Thelma, who were later charged with 33 terrible crimes. A sex cult? That is disgusting and terrible. So I just sign here? Awesome. You know all those jokes I make about not being able to find a girlfriend? I think I found a solution. In 2020, there were a number of individuals who were involved in cult activities taking place in the Soma Forest who called themselves herbalists. With everything that happened in 2020, this seems the most normal. Also, cults in 2020? Those are so 1990s. Imagine a group of people following one person these days. Are we a cult?